Hey everybody, it's Joe Leo from the JBL Legends Travel Group, and thought I'd come on here today because one of the questions that we get a lot um, is people call and say, "I'm looking for a vacation where everything is taken care of, and should I do a cruise or should I do an all-inclusive resort?" And the answer to that question is really not just black and white because they both have pros and cons. So I'm going to give you some of the differences so you can make an educated decision. This is information that you're not going to find dealing with an online booking website because all you are to them is a credit card number. When you deal with somebody like us, or a certified travel agency, we'll tell you all the pros and cons. We'll explain all the things that happen. So let's get started. So cruising has a couple of main advantages. First of all, it's an obvious one. The ship is moving. So on a week-long vacation, you can visit multiple destinations, multiple ports without packing and unpacking. If there's bad weather, the ship will alter its route to get out of the way of the bad weather. But while you're on a resort, if you get bad weather, you're stuck there. The bad weather's bearing down on the resort. Today, also, cruise ships are packed with activities. It's unbelievable. If you haven't been on one or you haven't been on one recently, there's rope courses, water parks, mini golf, movie screens, bowling alleys, arcades, rock climbing walls, zip lines, bumper cars. And the one I was just on had a racetrack, a three-level racetrack. There's surfing and skydiving simulators, and you name it. These ships are full of that kind of stuff, basketball courts, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. The daily schedules on the ship, which you can choose to participate in or not participate in, that's totally up to you, are filled with all kinds of things like wine tastings, dancing classes, bingo, trivia games. At night, they all have like Las Vegas style entertainment. There's music in all the different venues. And there's also, which is really important to families, there's also some very dedicated youth areas that have kid-specific programs for tots to teens. And it really does take a lot to get bored on a cruise ship. Now, while cruise fares seem to be all-inclusive, that can be a little misleading, and let me explain what I mean. The cruise fare is going to cover your onboard accommodations, your meals in a lot of the restaurants, but not all of them. There's onboard eateries on all the ships that are considered specialty restaurants. And these range from Italian, French, hibachi, and a steakhouse. However, they are specialty dining packages that can be added on to your cruise that will include these specialty restaurants at a fraction of the cost if you were going to go to that restaurant while you're on the cruise and pay a la carte cash. So if you buy those packages ahead of time, you're saving a lot of money and you'll have your choices. Some of them are like, to say there's 5 specialty restaurants on the ship, you can buy a 2 specialty restaurant package. So you can pick any 2 of the ones you want to go to. Honestly, I go to them when I'm on a ship, but the buffet, the main dining room, and some of the other restaurants on the ship that are included have phenomenal food. So if you don't really care about that specialty kind of restaurant, you don't have to go. Me, I personally love the hibachi on the ship. It's a great show. It's a night out, that kind of thing. And I love the steakhouse. So it's really up to you, but it is available, and I want you to know that that's available. Also, alcohol and soda are not included in about 95% of the cruise packages. However, these can be added on, and there's packages for the week. They have to be taken by both passengers in the cabin. And there's a bunch of them. And each cruise line is a little bit different. So I would talk to me or your professional travel agent about, which one you think is best for you. Service charges and gratuities. Service charges and gratuities are charged by every cruise line. It's charged directly to your room per person per day. It averages anywhere between $14 and $16 a day per person, depending on which ship you're on. However, I tell all my clients, pay for it right up front, you're done. This way, when you get on that cruise ship, you don't owe anything. unless of course your wife makes you buy her a nice piece of jewelry in the gift shop. But no, all kidding aside, pay that up front, get it over with. This way you owe no money when you get on the ship. I also always recommend to my clients to budget in some money for excursions. So when you go to different ports, if you wanted to go snorkeling or swim with the dolphins, swim with the pigs, whatever, that you have money on the side for that. And that you also have money in there for souvenir photos that are taken around the ship and buying some things in the gift shop. It's good to buy your excursions up front, either through your travel agent or online on the app once you have booked your cruise. Usually it's a little cheaper than booking it on the ship, plus the fact you don't run the risk of that particular excursion getting sold out. Um, there are also packages for photos and things like that that can be added on. Some of the cruise lines right now have specials going on where every port that you go to, there's a $50 per cabin per port shore excursion credit. So if you go to a particular port and you want to go scuba diving and it's $100 per person, it's gonna cost you 200, and then they're gonna get the $50 credit off. That's gonna be added onto your room bill. So there's a lot of different ins and outs, and so it's not really black and white as far as what's included and all of that. But talk to me. I'll be glad to guide you through the process. It's not as difficult as it seems, but we know all the ins and outs. Now, what I'd like to do is I'd like to just take this same scenario and talk to you about all-inclusive resorts. Okay, so let's talk about all-inclusive resorts. All-inclusive resorts, on the other hand, their rates encompass a lot more than what you can get on a cruise, um, based on the base fare. As I explained before, there's add-ons. At an all-inclusive resort, your payment includes your meals, your on-site restaurants, all your drinks, soda, alcohol, coffee, beach and pool access, all kinds of daytime activities like beach sports challenges and fitness classes, kids programming, and non-motorized water sports like snorkeling, kayaking, and water bikes. The main benefit of this style of vacation is that it's incredibly relaxing. You're in one spot, you're there, you're on the beach all day. You could spend the entire day on the beach or the pool. And if you like, sometimes at most of those resorts, you can order your food and drinks right at the pool without even leaving the water. Um, you're The only other thing, of course, like on the cruise ship, is that if you want to take excursions outside of the resort, those are going to be extra. If you love the beach, you can head into the ocean at any time you want, rather than waiting for a ship to dock. Um, Resorts usually, in most cases, have a lot more room than most of the compact cruise ships. The standard hotel room is going to be a little larger than a cruise cabin. And some resorts have options for overwater bungalows. For those of you who are thinking about having that romantic vacation or celebrating your honeymoon. Now, evening activities at resorts tend to center more around drinking and eating and dancing rather than the Broadway style shows and all the music that happens on the cruise ships. Plus, depending upon your taste, the kids' programming at the facilities are usually not as well organized as they are on the cruise ship. And of course, at a resort, you're limited to the resort area. That means that you're likely only going to experience one area of the island or possibly never leave the resort grounds, except to maybe have dinner at a sister resort. And as I said before, if the weather gets bad, you're stuck. All right, so let's talk about price. Honestly, I've done comparisons for a number of clients, and they both have a variety of rooms. So cruise ships have inside cabins, which don't have windows. You have your ocean view cabins, which either have a porthole window or a picture window. You have your balcony cabins, which are just that. They have a nice balcony overlooking the ocean. And then you have suites. Resorts also have their standard rooms, And those standard rooms usually just have a view of the gardens. Then there's rooms with a view of the pool or a view of the ocean, and they also have suites. So when I compare the two for people, the pricing comes out to be just about the same. The one big factor is 99% of all the all-inclusive resorts are outside of the United States. That's correct. We don't have that. We have like two in the United States. I won't even touch on them because we very rarely recommend them to people because they don't include what these other resorts include in Dominican Republic, Mexico, Punta Cana, Jamaica. 99% of them outside the United States. So the factor is now you have to think about airfare to get to that resort. Okay, so that's the big factor when you're starting to price them out. Cruises, on the other hand, leave from New York, New Jersey, Florida, Boston, California, and so many other ports around the country that, and they also leave from Italy and Greece and all that stuff. So depending upon where you want to go, but a good percentage of them are right here in the United States. So depending on where you live, you can either drive to the port or just take a short flight, down to Florida or up to Boston or whatever. So your flight costs are not going to be as much as flying internationally. So what's the bottom line? The bottom line is they're both great options. It depends on what interests you the most. If you like visiting multiple destinations without having to pack and unpack, then pick a cruise. If you like just relaxing and laying around on the beach all day, then pick an all-inclusive resort. Still confused, aren't you? Most people are. And if you've never cruised before, some people have a fear of cruising. I've been on over 20 cruises. It's like a floating city on the water. You very, very vaguely feel any kind of motion. It's not like being on a little fishing boat. So talk to me about that. And there's good places to leave out of for your first cruise with the least amount of motion. There's good rooms to be booked in on a cruise that have the least amount of motion, and I'll guide you on those. So give me a call at 732-831-5200. I'll be happy to show you all your options and help you make a decision that's best for you and your family based on what your likes are and your dislikes. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Joe Leo, JBL Legends Travel, 732-831-5200. I look forward to helping you out on your next vacation.